Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, this is BHAMBRA here for PSB Sports. I'm very happy to be joined now by the former WBO heavyweight champion of the world. We've got Joseph Parker on the line from Las Vegas. Joseph, thank you very much for your time. It's been a while since we've caught up. How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time we caught up was for the Dillian Whyte fight.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been spending a lot of time back home with family, friends, getting a bit of a break, and then now I'm in camp at the moment, training for the next fight, next challenge, which is on the 15th of December in Christchurch, New Zealand. So it'll be good to take it back to New Zealand, take it back home, and give a good fight to the fans and supporters that have been supporting us from the beginning.
Absolutely, of course. I mean, obviously, I know when you fought Joshua afterwards, the whole thought process was to, stay in the UK, because your profile in the UK has been built so well over the past year with the fights of Hughie, Joshua, and Whyte. So, what was the idea, Joe, heading back home for this fight?
For us, I think it's sort of like the rebuild. And also climbing back, our last few fights have been in the UK, so it's good to come back home. But if everything goes well, I think this will be our first and last time that we fight in New Zealand for a while. But for us, it's about important going back home to rebuild, but also, it makes more sense for us to fight back home at this time.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, and obviously, in terms of your opponent as well, talk to me a bit about him. What sort of things have you noticed about him, maybe, or what sort of things has Kevin noticed about him from footage he's seen previously? And talk to me a bit about some of the stuff you're working on to maybe counter his strengths on fight night. Yeah,
I think he's the type of fighter, from what we've seen, he likes to come forward. He has a good record, with one loss to Charles Martin, and he says he lost that fight because he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. So, there's no excuses in boxing, but I think he's the type of fighter that he doesn't have the challenger's mindset. He's got a mindset. He's going to come and make a statement, and to prove that he's going to make a statement in the heavyweight division. So, for me, I think it's a fighter with that kind of mentality as a dangerous fighter, and so. We're working on a lot of different. We're working on different things in this camp. We're working on power. We're working on our strength, more explosiveness. So I think with the things that we've implemented to this camp, we see a lot of benefits. From the beginning, and now we feel like we feel we're at the right place at the right time, and the camp's going great.
Absolutely, but obviously, Joe, when you lost to Dillian Whyte back in July, what sort of conversations did you have with David, Kevin, and the team? Was your thought process to always come back home, or did you think, maybe we could come back to the UK again? What were some of the discussions you guys had as a team after that?
There was an opportunity to go to the UK, but in New Zealand, there's always going to be opportunity for us. And like I said, we sat down as a team, and we all decided that New Zealand would be the best option for now. And after the fight, it was a good fight with Dillian. Credit to him, he won the fight, so congrats to him. But there's a few things that sort of went in the fight that sort of changed the course of the fight. But it'll be great to sort of build back, get a few wins, and then I would love to fight him again.
Yeah, obviously, I was there at the O2 Arena, but back in July, it was an absolute heavyweight classic. You dropped him, he dropped you. It was back and forth exchanges. It was a real, classic heavyweight fight, as they say, Joe. But looking back on it now, I know you say as you lost, but it was an extremely close fight. How do you look back on that fight, Joe, with Whyte?
Yeah, listen, like I said, Whyte was a tough opponent. He always comes prepared, and he was motivated, and he wanted to win in front of his home crowd. I started the fight off real good, in and out, good movement, good speed, angles, and then after the heat clash, things have changed a bit, and then he was able to press forward, and he got some good shots, and he was able to drop me. So it's the first time I've ever been dropped, but it showed that us two together, we can put on an exciting fight.
Of course, and in terms of that final round, Joe, I know you dropped him, and obviously, time was taken away in the 12th round. But in your mind, how close do you believe you were there to finish him in the last round?
Yeah, I was very close. I was very close to finishing him off, but we both got given 12 rounds to do what we had to do. And after the 12th round, he he was able to overcome the things that I was able to do in the fight. So, like I said, congratulations to him and credit to him. And now he's moving forward, fighting with Chisora and you know, progressing as a fighter. So, but like I said, you know, we put on an exciting fight. So hopefully, you know, in the future we can have a rematch if it's something that makes sense for both fighters. And no, I'm definitely interested in that.
Of course. I mean, you know, it's a fight that will no doubt, you know, in the future make sense, bearing in mind how much of a great fight the first one was. But you know, obviously, as you mentioned, he's now going to be fighting Derek Chisora for the second time, December 22nd, O2 Arena again. Obviously, the first fight was a very close fight with him and Chisora. Now, obviously, 2 years later, Chisora's fought, he's lost and he's won. Dillian hasn't lost since then. Obviously, he's kept on winning, as you say. What sort of fight do you think the fans can see with them two again?
Oh, both of them. I think they're both going to put on an exciting fight. You know, the first one, like you said, was very close. And this time, you know, you see Chisora teaming up with David Hayes, and David Hayes being a fighter who's always in shape, you know, and keeps himself fit. So I think with that, you know, with that team around him, you know, definitely see a lot of changes. But like again, Whyte is a young fighter who's hungry, who's motivated, who wants to be champion of the world. So this is going to be a close fight. I think it's going to be a very close and exciting fight.
Of course, and obviously, you know, a few other things I want to get your thoughts on too. Obviously, you know, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, that's been announced. They've had their press conferences. They've been to LA, been to New York. They've had London, and obviously they're what, about just under 4 weeks now away from fight night in LA. Obviously, absolutely huge news that Tyson Fury is fighting for a world title only in his third fight back, and obviously Deontay Wilder is still undefeated WBC king. Do you think, Joe, that a lot of people are saying this might be a bit too early for Tyson in his comeback? Do you believe Tyson would be ready for a challenge such as Deontay this early on? Yeah, listen, Deontay's one of those fighters who's got magnificent power. You know, he's got a lot of power, and you know, you can see with his record knocking everyone out. So he's always going to be a dangerous fighter. I think Tyson Fury will be ready, and the reason I say that is because if Tyson Fury puts his mind to something, I think he's going to be prepared for the fight. But I think for me, I'm good at things with both fighters, and I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's a great fight for not only the heavyweight division but for boxing. And you know, I'm excited to see it. You know, I'm excited to see that fight before I fight. And I think we're going to go down to, you know, we're going to be there at the fight to support both fighters and see a great night of action. I mean, I know as you mentioned there is a 50-50, but I mean, do you sway towards one fighter maybe over the other, or not really? No, I'm sitting in the middle. You know, I'm sitting in the middle, and I think it's going to be a close fight. And you know, this is one of those things. May the best man win. But I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, but you know, as experts are breaking the fight down, Joe. You know, a lot of people are saying, although Tyson Fury will, like, you know, will or might be able to outbox Deontay for however long, Deontay has an equalizer, which is the right hand. Or on the other hand, people are saying Deontay hasn't fought anyone as technically gifted as Tyson Fury. So I mean, do you think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be the technical boxing ability of Tyson versus the punch power of Deontay? Do you think the sort of fight will play out like that? You know, it can play out like that. You know, very technical, and like Tyson Fury, he can box and move. He can avoid punches. A lot of people were saying, for me, that Wilder is a one-punch knockout artist, which he is. But I think he can also box as well. I think he can box and move, and we've seen snippets of it with some of the fights. So, you know, I just don't know how to call it. No, that's why it's so exciting, because even though a lot of people think, you know, a lot of people are saying Wilder's going to win and knock him out and all this and that, but you just never know. You know, boxing is one of those things that anything can happen, and that's what makes this fight so exciting. Definitely, and obviously I know your former opponent Anthony Joshua as well. I think there's, you know, he's due to fight next on April the 13th back at Wembley. Firstly, Joe, I mean, I know that's a fight you obviously want back again in the future, because, you know, obviously he is a holder of 3 of the major belts. All the very best of luck in training camp moving forward, and hopefully we can catch up with you soon ahead of your fight in Christchurch. Yeah, so fingers crossed and all the best. Thank you very much, Pat. Thanks to the team, PSB Sports, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. Absolutely, Joe. Thank you very much. All the best. Pick the opponent that the public want to see. You know, the public want to see an exciting fight. He's always involved in exciting fights, and his last fight was a great fight. You know,
he put up a great show. You know, he timed his punches very well, and he ended up knocking out Paviki, so it was a great win for him. And so, yeah, I'd just like to see fight anyone, and hopefully, like I said, this is another fight that I'd love to fight in the future, and hopefully things will be different if I fight him.
Of course, I mean, when you fought Joshua previously, Joseph, I mean, is it a case of that after the fight you can reflect and look back and think, you know what, if I do X, Y, and Z, me and Kevin can implement that into the game plan in order to maybe defeat him next time? Is that something that you and Kevin have looked at?
Oh, most definitely. You always look at fights and then you think, you know, you come up with a plan that you could change and things you could have done differently to get a different result. And so that's what fighters do. You sit down and watch, and you write down things that you need to improve on, things that you need to change. And, you know, he fought a good fight, that fight. You know, we went into the fight thinking that he was going to come forward and he was going to, you know, throw a lot of punches in for us to counter and catch him. But he boxed very well. You know, he boxed very well, and he boxed differently from what he did with other fighters or with other fights that he's had. So, you know, he's also, as a young champion, he's also improving all the time.
Yeah, of course. But Joe, back to yourself now. Obviously, December 15th, Christchurch, that is a focus. Anything in particular you're working on with Kevin? Is there anything new you're trying to bring to your game? Are you working on power? Are you maybe working on different things on the pads? Your weight training, strength and conditioning? Are you doing anything different maybe this time around?
Yeah, listen, we're doing good sessions of strength and conditioning. We're doing more things to develop more power. That we need to be a little bit more powerful, and we're doing, there's things that we've, like I said, added to camp that we see, you know, benefits right off the bat. So for us, if we continue to maintain and improve and keep pushing through, it's going to be, by the time fight time comes, we'll be ready and prepared and looking to put on a great show.
And obviously, I know you don't like to look past, obviously, opponents, but, I mean, should you finish this guy in style in Christchurch, Joe, have you got thoughts to come back here, Joe, to the UK?
Oh, listen, like I said, if everything goes well here in New Zealand and, you know, we get a victory, you know, it's going to be the sort of the last time we fight in New Zealand for a while, and we'll be back in the UK, or, you know, we'll be back. We've got a lot of support back there, so we'll love to come there and fight. You know, that's where the heavyweight division's at the moment, so I'd like to be a part of it and continue to put on some great fights.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Joseph Parker, I want to say thank you very much for your time today for myself and PSB Sports. We wish you all the very best of luck in training camp moving forward, and hopefully we can catch up with you soon ahead of your fight in Christchurch. Yeah, so fingers crossed and all the best.
Thank you very much, Pat. Thanks to the team, PSB Sports, and I'll be talking to you guys soon.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you very much. All the best.